So, before moving forward in the video, if you are somebody who wants to learn the concept of AI engineering and actually make a career in the same field, then you are actually at the right place. Algocamp has launched its first AI engineering cohort in which you will be able to learn state-of-the-art patterns on how to make these real-world production-grade ready AI applications. You will learn all the concepts from beginner to advanced, starting from basics of LLMs, understanding GPT's API, or let's say Claude's API, how you can actually set up RAGs in production, how you can make your own AI agents with a lot of interesting projects as well. You will be making projects including making your own code reviewing agent, making your own RAG pipeline which will be able to handle long running tasks as well, and whatnot. I list all of the projects here and you can pause the video and check out all of them. This particular cohort will also help you understand behind the scenes of an LLM so that you can understand how the LLM actually works, the neural network architecture, the transformers architecture, what was actually running before LLMs like RNNs and LSTMs. All of these concepts of deep learning also we will be actually covering. This particular cohort has been actually made sure that if you are somebody who knows nothing about AI engineering and wants to start your career in AI engineering, you will be able to actually do that. We will provide all of the required fundamentals including Python, basics of Python, fast API, Docker, Git, GitHub, and everything which will help you to start your learning as fast as possible. If you are somebody who is actually looking for a more structured way to learn AI engineering with people who are actually building these products in production, do check out the link in the description section below, and don't forget to use this particular coupon code to get massive discount on the price. So let's get back to the video. Now we know that how can we implement queues using stacks. Now what about stacks using queues? What about stacks using queues? Now if you want to implement stacks using queues, again there can be two approaches. One can be a push efficient stack, and one can be a pop efficient stack, right? Now what do you mean by saying push efficient? Let's first of all talk about a push efficient stack. Okay, let's talk about a push efficient stack. In a push efficient stack, now you want to implement stack using queues. So the internal thing that we were doing using arrays or linked list, now you need to manage that using a queue. Now, if let's say you have a queue and somebody says do a push of 10, push of 20, and push of 30. Now, if you want to make the most efficient push operation using a queue, then you can just do a NQ here. Then you can just directly do a NQ here, right? Just NQ directly in the queue. 10, 20, 30, right? Now, because stack is a last in first out structure and queue is a first in first out structure, the problem here will be that if you want to do a pop operation out of it, if you want to do a pop operation, in the pop operation of a stack, technically the last added element should be removed. Who was the last added element? According to the end user, they have added 30 at the last. So if you do a pop, then technically the user is expecting you to actually remove 30. But in a queue, you just have access to the front in order to delete, right? It's a normal queue, it's not a deck. So if you just have access to the front to be deleted, what you can do is you can make the pop operation a bit inefficient. How? Here you can see NQ was actually already done order of 1, because if let's say Q is implemented using a linked list, you did a push of 10, you directly just NQ'd in a push. That's order of 1. Now, if you want to delete 30, you can maintain a temporary queue. This is the internal queue. And this is a temporary queue. Okay. Now what you can do, you can move all of the elements of the internal queue in the temporary queue. Now there will be one problem. If you transfer data from one queue to another queue, then the order doesn't reverse. Think about it, no?
if let's say you move 10, so you removed 10 from the internal queue and you enqueued it in the temporary queue, right? You enqueued it in the temporary queue. Then you remove 20 and enqueued it in the temporary queue. So the problem here will be that it won't be in reverse order. So if you will just also move 30, then this will be empty and here you will be having 30, you will be having the same problem. So the only thing that you have to do is keep on removing from the internal queue till the time you just have one element left. Till the time you have one element left. That is very easily you can detect. You can check the size of the queue. If you cannot check the size of the queue, keep access to the element after whose removal the queue becomes empty. See, the element after whose removal the queue becomes empty is the last element, right? Keep track of the element after whose removal queue becomes empty. Right? Queue becomes empty. So now this is 30. The moment you detect a element after whose removal the queue became empty, you won't insert it in your temporary queue. That's it. 30 has been removed. Now it's the time to bring back 10 and 20. That's it. That's how you can do the pop operation. And the time complexity of the pop operation is going to be order of n because you are actually using DQ for this. Right? This is going to be a push efficient stack where when you push an element, it's order of 1. When you pop the element, it's order of n. But on a counterpart, if you want to make a pop efficient, let me write like this, pop efficient stack, then you again have a queue. And now when you do push 10, push 20 and push 30, and let's say after that you do a pop. Now when you do a pop, you want 30 to be removed immediately. You don't want to do any computation. That means the only element that can be immediately removed from a queue is the front element. So you need to maintain that the last element which was added should remain at the front of the queue. But that's problematic because last element added remains at the back of the queue. So you need to do kind of like a reverse NQ, right? For example, when you do add 10, push 10, you will just directly add 10, no problem. But now when you do 10, 20, you cannot just add 20 at the back. What will you do is you will create a temporary queue, move all the elements of the queue here, then your internal queue is empty. Now you will add 20 here and then move back all of your elements from temporary queue to the internal queue. Now you want to add 30, again move 20 here, 10 here, then add 30 here, then move 20 here and 10 here, right? And now if you want to do a pop, you can see the last added element in the stack is at the front. You can just directly remove it. Using this, the pop operation will be order of 1, but the push operation will be order of n, right? This is the challenging part here. So all 4 approaches, queues using stack 2 approaches and stack using queue 2 approaches, are kind of like very similar to each other. They take some extra space. They try to keep one operation efficient, one operation inefficient. So if any variation is asked, you just have to think about how you can make one efficient operation, one inefficient operation, and that's how you can even make stack using queues, or you can make queues using stack. I hope all of this point is clear to everyone.